Mark, what up, man? Always an honor. And Trump third term. Whoa. Okay, some people would say that's not going to happen because Trump's too unpopular. Look at all these polls. He's just says things are going horribly. And then I talk with everybody who's MAGA, and we check the chat on this show, for instance, and people don't think things are going horribly. People love what's happening. Your polling is out proving that anecdotal contention to be correct, but I'd love for you to dive a little more into it. The table is yours.
Well, I've been saying this for weeks now, right direction. That's the number to watch, not Trump approval. But I wake up every day and there's another Psyop. And today the Psyop is for Donald Trump's 100-day, anniversary of his inauguration. They're trying to, paint the narrative that he's unpopular. And, he's doing fine. This is what people voted for. We asked Americans, is this what you voted for? We literally used those, that phrase exactly. 80% of Trump voters agreed with that. And so right direction right now, 42%, still above 40, really high. And today marks 13 consecutive weeks of right direction at 42% or higher. The biggest record before has been 7 weeks in a row in all of our 20 years of polling. And so people are looking at this and saying, I expected a little bit of chaos. Trump's chaotic, but I'm happy with the direction that things are going. Happier. This is top 95 percentile happiness with the direction of the country right now. And so they're trying every trick in the book again. If you look at Real Clear Politics, all of the mainstream media, network, cable, TV, news, pollster types, they just dropped turds this morning. Their first double-digit underwater Trump approval is almost like they coordinated it. And it was just to drive headlines that he's unpopular.
So, is it just going right back to 2024? Is it going right back to 2020? Is it just you just gotta start the machine all over again and produce fake polling results?
It feels like August and September. It feels exactly what happened. It's we got a new entrant into the race, Kamala Harris. Let's see how the polling's going to do. And my numbers, it tightened a little bit, went from, Trump +5 down to about Trump +2. And my numbers stopped there and everybody else just kept going. And so that's exactly what's happening here. If you look at, we had Trump underwater at 5 points. We had him above water last week. It's going to fluctuate, I think, around, ±2. But everybody was with me. They were with me 2 or 3 months ago saying that Donald Trump came in the low to mid 50s, and this is exactly what they're doing. My numbers stopped, and theirs are going to keep on going left. And then, of course, the mainstream media on top of that is going to be this information gatekeeping layer. If you look at, for instance, Quinnipiac, was the last one they had was -12. A month ago, Quinnipiac was -12 then. And guess what? That was the headline. They used Quinnipiac. Well, their numbers haven't moved. And so now it's they're going to use Reuters. They're going to use ABC Washington, put, -13, -12, -14. You got them up there. Those are all new. They all dropped over the weekend. I joked about it on Twitter. I wonder if they're slapping each other on the butts and saying good game after this coordinated dump of polling. I think that's probably what it is. And what's really wild to me, if you have it available, is the Google search trends of Trump approval.
Yeah, we got it. You already got it, Klein. You already got it loaded.
This is one of the most stunning things that tells me a Psyop is happening. Because when those this is organic search volume of Trump approval. And it's oh, wow, it's spiking. If you look at the numbers, it's second or third highest month in all of Google's search history, going all the way back to 2004. But look at Obama. Look at Biden. Look at Bush. Nobody cared about their approval. There's something very specific about Trump, and there's something very specific about right now where it's well, we know cynically they don't have really much political power. And so all they have is their mouthpieces just drone away trying to undermine the anti-establishment candidate.
This is remarkable. So the green is Bush, the yellow is Obama, the blue is Trump term 1, and the red is Biden. That just falls right off a cliff after Afghanistan. Would you look at that? That's remarkable. So right after Afghanistan, it's they shut down all polling into Joe Biden because it was so atrocious. This is very interesting.
Well, I think what happened is like there was this binary gut check decision where everybody in America was like, oh, like Joe Biden sucks. So they don't really need to like Google it anymore. But, I think also probably the media wasn't driving traffic, trying to convince people that he was popular. They just sort of gave it up. But just look at the overall value, though. I mean, when he was sworn into office, it really no point were people more interested in Biden approval than they were in Trump approval during Trump 1. It really never got there. And so all of a sudden, Trump gets into office. All of a sudden, all the levers of power are threatened again, and everybody's searching for Trump approval. And it's because they're seeing scummy headlines and they're trying to like check the mainstream media information that's getting pushed down their throats.
And then it's just a self-licking ice cream cone because they publish a fake poll with really bad disapproval numbers. Yet there's no Trump supporter that I know that disapproves of what's going on. There are some people that have frictions with this or that, but it's not like he's lost his base, right?
Yeah, well, I think what you're seeing is a lot of these are shady methodologies. They're using online panels. There's massive response biases. And in reality, I don't think people change their minds very rapidly, especially not based on the media. I think Biden changed a lot of people's minds over his 4 years and turned them into Trump supporters. But what happens is if you look at some of these bad pollsters, they were running 33% approval ratings for Joe Biden. And the truth is it never really got that low. We're the only ones that poll approval every day, day in and day out. Lowest we ever saw him get was 37, but most of the time he was like between 40 and 43. And that's what you'd expect for a country that 49% almost went for Kamala Harris. Yeah. And so the fact is that everybody was running around cheering 2 or 3 years ago when Quinnipiac drops a 33% Biden approval rating. And now they're like revolted when they drop a Donald Trump 33% approval rating. Like, what do you think's going on there? But looking at internally into the polls, even the New York Times, like it's also scummy. They've been missing in action for months. Like, I don't know what happened to Nate Cohn or why they haven't had budget, but they have not been polling. And so they come out of the gates with this first big poll, 900 registered voters. Only 730 actually completed the entire survey, really small. And if you look at the subsample, their independents are like plus 17 Democrats. And they actually have like, it was 16 or 17% of the poll didn't even vote in the fall. And so it's a really small sample. So just like not even looking at whether or not their thumb was on the scale, it's all like crap and noise. But what happens? It's dropped right before the 100 days, along with everybody else, almost like they coordinated. Because I could tell you, ABC News, CBS, like Fox News, Reuters, these numbers are the biggest like negative numbers they've put out. And so they waited. They waited right before 100 days.
So because we are here at the precipice of the 100 days and President Trump will be doing a big MAGA rally tomorrow, tell me the truth, Mark, something that you've done on this program before, and you are the most accurate pollster we've ever had on. Where is President Trump? Like, how's he tracking? He's tracking sort of in line with like a Barack Obama. Is this correct?
Yeah. Like a couple caveats. We've got polling going all the way back to 2003 on approval rating daily. Only once. Still doing it daily. And the fact is, if you stack up all the presidents compared to each other, one president stands out. And it's not Donald Trump, it's Joe Biden. So we've overlaid the charts and smoothed out the variations. And what you had in 2008 and 2009 was a very unique time. I think that there was a lot of relief that the great financial crisis was being addressed in some way. I hesitate to say fixed. And people were happy that everybody came together and elected the first black president. And so the first couple of months of Obama term 1, he had a phenomenally high approval rating. But if you strip those 6 months out, Donald Trump won, and what looks like the first couple of months of Donald Trump too, like really track very closely with how Obama polled for all 8 years he was in office, really. I mean, he got a little bit of a bounce on his second inauguration, but they're neck and neck at 45% to 50% approval rating presidents, which is kind of what you'd expect for a relatively divided nation with information war going on 24/7 and basically gridlock Congress. Except Joe Biden, there you go. You put it up. He's that lighter blue line, and it's on the bottom. It's the low one. And I'll tell you, this is not what real clear politics looks like. If you went there, you'd see that Joe Biden's approval rating is on average 4 or 5 points higher than Trump's. Not in ours. We have Joe Biden lower for most of the time. You can see early in Trump's first term, it got down to the high 30s as well. That's when they were doing all that fake Russiagate collusion hoax stuff. And then Biden's got really low also, and it's the FJB and Afghanistan sort of period. And Biden never really recovered, but Trump did because the economy was picking up. People were super happy. I mentioned that we had a previous record of consecutive weeks of right direction above 42%. When that happened is Trump's first inauguration, the summer of 2018, and also people were really happy sort of the winter and spring of 2020 until the bioweapon was released on everybody.
That is a fascinating. Put it back up, please. That is just an absolutely fascinating to see how it tracks and how just in the dumps Joe Biden was. I was credibly informed that he was the most popular president in history. Wow. No, certainly not.
He got, although he did get the highest turnout in recent recorded presidential history. Really, really strange.
It's just the rapture, you see, Mark. We missed it. 20 million Americans just disappeared out of the polling booths. Yeah, it's a little religious thing called the rapture of Democrat voters.
Yeah.
Okay. So
never mind that 28% of Americans admitted out of their own mouths that they committed at least one form of mail-in ballot fraud. But whatever.
Yeah, but whatever. You know, yeah, sure, okay. Yeah, get through the first deportation rounds, mass deportation rounds, and then start investigating that. Okay, so then this is a very interesting trend line for President Trump. So President Trump rides in on a high, then gets destroyed by the corporate media and propaganda machines, and then claws his way back with achievements. Do you see that same trajectory happening this term?
No, I don't even think he's going to go below 45. Like maybe for a little bit here and there. That's the thing. It's like, what are they going to come up with that is going to fundamentally, they have to undermine trust in a significant portion of Trump supporter MAGA Republicans are 75, 80%, like mostly MAGA. And so what are they going to come up with? It has to be, videos that they've been working on and holding for a decade, or maybe World War III, everybody's going to circle the wagons. Maybe if we get like that Black Monday that they tried to convince us was going to happen and the stock market goes down 20 to 30%. But I don't even think that most Americans really care that much about the stock market. It's just that the media gets whipped up into a frenzy. So maybe a consumer recession, maybe some kind of black swan economic event. Maybe they'll finally get the golden BB hoax that's going to work because none of this other stuff really has.
Well, I mean, this is the way. Like all we do is check the comment section, and there are people. Not going to name them. There are people who are unpopular and very popular inside the administration, but it's never a revolt against Trump. And, everyone has their own critiques, but it's never like Trump's losing voters. And everything that we've seen online, again, not going to name people who've literally promoted fake news on X and went viral for it. Like they have to make up people leaving MAGA, right? They have to actually fraudulently create. I'm a Trump voter and I'm so angry I'll only vote Democrats now. No way. It's not happening. And I just don't see the Democrat Party, and maybe this is something we can end on here, Mark. I don't see the Democrat Party on the trajectory that they're on earning anything back, right? Like you'd have to have like this really sobering come to Jesus moment, literally, and ditch all of the woke crap. And they're tripling down on it, man. And it's like AOC running hard to be the chief racehorse. It doesn't seem like they're going to do the mobilization towards the middle, like Bill Clinton model, that would be necessary to try and like peel off any MAGA voters. Maybe I'm out of touch. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, no, I mean, this is key. And I do think I don't think they should be dismissed, but I do think they're in a tricky situation. I did some analysis on my site that looked like, or on my Twitter feed. Forget about approval rating and just look at the share of voters that Donald Trump was able to get to convince to come to the polls and support him. And Donald Trump's second term actually stacks up really well against other prior presidents who have won. He actually edges out JFK in the proportion of voters who he convinced to vote for him. But it's much higher than his first term. So people saw the first term I like that. I want more of that. And so they're going to double down. They wanted more of Trump. It was not the same way with Obama. He came in stronger than he went out, let's just say. And so people have to compare and take a breath and look around and say, well, okay, you might not like Pam Bondi, but remember Jeff Sessions. And I do think that Twitter doesn't represent real worlds. I think it represents the front lines of an information war. And so there are people probably rightly like whipping folks into a froth over things that they would like to have happened by now. And I maybe am guilty of some of that as well, but I think it's because I understand the huge opportunity of this stuff being released and what it might do on people's opinions and maybe shift the country even more. But people have to chill. One of the people we're talking about presumably is Pam Bondi. And it's like, okay, she hasn't been in the job that long, but we asked about her favorability. This is just like a week and a half ago. And she's got 42% favorable to only 34% unfavorable among all likely voters. That's pretty good. A quarter of them have no idea who she is. But among Republicans, it's 63% to only 18%, and only 8% have a very unfavorable impression. So Twitter, again, is not the real world. There's, the 100 million voters out there aren't chewing their nails about whether or not the Epstein list is going to get released. I think that's just, sort of the loudest folks.
So because of what you just said there, it sort of like locks into a question that I have to ask here again in closing here, Mark, is that this individual who has come up with, we didn't think we'd ever hear more accents than we heard from Kamala Harris on the 2024 campaign trail. But lo and behold, I have a very short 15-second clip to play you, and you'll hear like at least 5 different accents in this AOC front runner in the 2028 Democratic primary. And I just want to get your take on that. Here we go.
Donald Trump is a criminal who was found guilty of 34 felony counts of fraud. Liable
the inflection.
for sexual abuse.
Abuse.
Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
French, I think. It's French.
When he talks about rapists and
Naked,
criminals,
maybe? I
he
don't
should
know.
look in the mirror.
How about et tu, Mark? Do you think that she's going to be the nominee?
Well, no. But again, we're talking about the really tough situation there. I said this on their show. I think that the crisis they had was authenticity, and the problem is that even if they come up with a good platform, a good answer that no, MAGA's not right, you could use our platform. It would be better at responding to all the needs and wants of the voter. People aren't even going to believe them. They're going to be like, well, you were just trying to get men, to compete in women's sports. And you can't just turn a corner and say, no, we're not for that all of a sudden. And we've seen Gavin Newsom try, and they rip him apart on Reddit. So even if they did, I don't know if it would play out. But you have this situation where like AOC, I was going to say before you showed that clip, like she is to some people authentic, right? But her platform is objectively like horrible. It's not the one you'd want. It's like basically communism. And then so it's like, well, if they have an establishment Democrat that can come up with a good platform, it's going to lack authenticity. So they're in this catch-22. And again, with the numbers, it's a catch-22 as well, because in my polling, Kamala Harris among Democrats is still the front runner. Problem is that if you look at the betting markets right now, she's not doing well. It's like 5%. Gavin Newsom and AOC are the front runners. Problem is in the polling, they are not leading. So it's like, what's going to happen? I don't know, but there's a huge vacuum, and there's a really great opportunity for some intelligent, authentic, outsider to come in and say, we're going to clean up the Democrat Party. We need to. You guys didn't do it. I'm going to do it, and I have authority. And that's one of the reasons, I talked about this. We polled on it like a month ago. Stephen A. Smith doesn't do that bad. Like he only trails Gavin Newsom and AOC by a couple of points in Democrat primary, 3 and 4 points respectively. He only trails Kamala Harris by, it was under 20 points. That's really incredible considering that she, came as close as she did. So,
Wow. I mean, maybe they should just go with Shannon Sharp. Yeah, I thought about it. And it's like, if you can go Stephen A. Smith, it's just go all the way and go Shannon Sharp. Just get the 100%, you know, go the full distance, right? Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Mark, it's always such an honor to have you on the program. You always bring such clarity in these moments. We can only pray for I guess careful what you wish for, but I think it'll be very entertaining, I suppose. A wide open Democrat 2028 primary process. Mark, thank you so much. Everybody can follow Mark here at Mark Mitchell, Rasmussen Reports. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers. Look at that. There you go, Mark. Fantastic. And
he just hit it last night.
He's the most accurate man in polling, and you should follow him. And Godspeed, Mark. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, buddy. Great to be here.